Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming with more Endzone, a world apart in the town of Hope Valley. We have built up a few basic structures at this point. We are struggling a little bit with some things such as food, but we're starting to pick that back up. I did actually shift one of our water carriers over to fishing for now, just to kind of keep us afloat, at least until the next drought, which it looks like there's nothing quite on the horizon, so we've got a little bit of time to work with. So for now, we want to continue building out our infrastructure, continue building up our food and water production, just so we will be able to support more of a population, because ultimately what I'd like to do is have a better, more consistent source of things like wood, and also start producing the other important ingredients such as metal, plastics, electronics, and charcoal. Ultimately, all of those will end up being needed. Now, I am producing a bit more clothing than I probably need at this stage of the game, but that's partly because in my experience with this so far, it's very easy to run out of this stuff. All of a sudden you have a huge explosion of population growth and children, and they each require their own little scarf, kind of wrapped around them like a shawl or a baby swaddling, I don't know, to protect them from radiation, and you suddenly run out and you die. So we want to make sure we have plenty of this to go around. The good news is once we hit 50, the tailor should automatically stop working on this and go and work on something else instead. And that works just fine with me. That said, because we're getting so low on food, I may have to pull off a salvager and a tailor for now and just have some people work on things like farming and hunting for the time being, because we are simply not getting quite enough food. This is potentially a big problem, so we have to focus on some of the basics. We do still have a source of deer over here for the hunting, hence why I'm keeping the work zone over here for now. Though I wouldn't mind moving that to something closer if we see the opportunity, but I don't see any animals nearby, so I think we're just going to have to live with some of that. Yeah, biggest issue at the beginning of the game is just a complete lack of people. But, you know, you need that time period. You need that time period of low population just to get the essentials up and a-running. Otherwise, you're going to have a really bad time. You're going to have a really, really bad time. We should be planning out what we want in the future, though, so I would like to move on to different forms of water collection, such as the rain collector, but of course that requires a lot of plastic, which I currently don't have access to. We could fix that if I want to swap over for the recycler, and instead start producing plastic out of scrap instead of cloth. Since I have a little bit of that to go, and I have enough clothing for the moment, I'm okay with doing that. I would also eventually like to upgrade to a water tower, just because it is a better water storage facility, and also when radiation eventually becomes a problem, and it will be, then we're going to wish we had some manner of actually clearing out that radiation using charcoal, but that requires a larger production chain than I currently have available, so I'm not going to worry too much about that at this moment. Population is actually at 24 now. Nope, never mind, I'm sorry, make that 25, Mazel Tov. So we're growing pretty well, but again, too many children too quickly is disastrous. So be prepared for all of that. Hopefully they grow up soon so I can make use of them. Electricity, not going to worry about that quite yet. It's going to be a little while before I need that. I would like to place down a workshop so I have the ability to start producing tools very, very soon. Now, where do I want this? I guess I could place it like right up over here or something. That could be kind of good. Again, I want it relatively close to the dispensary, just so they can manufacture the tools and get their resources quickly. So something like this seems perfectly reasonable to me. We'll do that. And, of course, just place down some more roads, because everybody has to have roads, even if it's not actually that important. I just like the look of it. What are we using our plastic on right now? Oh, we're using it on repairs, I think. Yeah, I think some of our buildings are being repaired using plastic or something, even though we didn't actually, you know, manufacture them using plastic. Wait, is that correct? That can't be right. I don't know, I saw it went from 2 to 0, so someone's using plastic. Someone's hoarding. I don't know who it is, and I don't know why. Stop it. We should also consider placing down, let's say, maybe a gatherer's hut. Yeah, something like this could be good. Just so we can, again, move a work area to this area that we plan on foresting. So we can possibly gather up new resources and stuff as they grow once the forest has been successfully planted. And I think for now, I'm actually going to set this to plant only just so we can create a good forest zone. I, again, have no reason to believe for sure that this works the way I'm intending. It may not be exactly like Banished in that way, but I'm operating under an intelligent guess. Or at least I pray that it is an intelligent guess. I don't know for absolute sure. We have plenty of scrap at the moment. That's going fairly well for us. But I may want to swap this work area over here, just so we can clear the scrap out from areas where I plan on planting trees, because I imagine that's going to prevent me from planting down too many more saplings. Again, the population is growing pretty rapidly. This is concerning for me, but we do have another adult that we can use. I think we will probably assign that person to be a gatherer, just so we have a good variety of food. I'm going to go ahead and move your work area to this approximate zone right here. Now, I can't remember, do gatherers' huts gather up herbs? It says that it collects food, but some of these look like herbal bushes to me. We can actually maybe test that. No, gather plants. That's not quite what I'm looking for. There is the herbal hut. Yeah, see, okay, this is what I'm talking about. So the herbal hut is highlighting some of these plants. So some of these do qualify as herbs, but not all of them, because some of the bushes down over here were not getting highlighted, which means they qualify as food and not as herbs. Okay, so I'm going to assume then that the gatherer's hut only gathers up the food-related plants, and we need to get herbal huts if we want to gather up herbs for medicine. Now, right now, I don't think we need a lot of medicine. We seem to be doing okay. We're not sick at the moment. Radiation levels are not that bad. But if it ever starts getting out of control, well, then yeah, that's going to end up being kind of important for us. We have another adult currently available. Let's go ahead and have them assigned to building just so we can get this up a little bit faster. Oh, we need metal to do that. Oops. Okay. Well, forget the plastic for a moment. Let's go to metal. Let's actually pull off the builders. We don't need quite that many people. Using up a fair bit of our clothing already as more children are born. I still don't feel particularly comfortable with our food and water situation. I think we will assign another gatherer and another water carrier for the time being. And hope that we have some more adults soon-ish, but I want to have a really good storage system in place for the future. We do need another house, because, of course, our population continues to grow. The question is, do I go for a house, or do I want to start saving up for a shelter so we stop with the population growth? We actually have enough plastic and enough cloth that we could pull this off. We just need a bit more wood. This is highly tempting to me, again, just so we can better control our numbers. And as I decide I want more population growth and I feel like we're starting to sustain more, then maybe we start placing down more houses. I feel like 10 children is a relatively good number. More than this feels like a pretty big risk. I do not know if in this game there are a limit to how many children a couple can have. It might be 2, but it might be more than that. I have not seen any evidence that it's more than 2. And if that's the case, there's kind of a natural population cap right there, or at least a growth rate cap. Maybe that would be good. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Well, we have a settler right now. What we should do is probably go ahead and... Yeah, this actually is fine. This task is mainly gathering up wood. I do need a lot more wood. This person is still going around and just planting down trees. That seems fine. We can actually see right over here a tree growing up. Slowly but surely. You ever watch trees grow? There it is. It's awesome. It's a miracle of life and stuff, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm going to save it for a shelter. I don't want too much more population growth than we already have at the moment. Now, what's going on with the cistern? I'm seeing a little icon here that I'm assuming, well, it's gone now, I'm assuming is a storage capacity here. Yeah, storage space is running out. I think each cistern can only hold about 2,000 units of water, I believe. So as long as we're getting close-ish to that 2,000 number and we're kind of hovering at an even point here, we're breaking even, I think that's good enough. And if we hit 2,000, then good. These people will stop working temporarily and go do other jobs. And then once we go below 2,000, we'll start working again. Looks like our food situation is now getting back under control. Getting the gatherer's hut seems to have helped quite a bit. And we are still hunting the deer, getting a little bit more. Looks like somebody's coming over here to shoot one right now. There it is. It's dead. Okay. So yeah, we're gathering up the venison. That's certainly good. So we're doing okay. What's happening here? A new goal. Let's take a look at this. Scrap stored. We need 514. Well, this is a problem in the sense that my production limits actually prevent us from gathering that much scrap. So what we could do is set this to about 550 or something like that. And they'll continue gathering up scrap until we hit that number. Seems fine with me. We may not have enough people assigned. If we do successfully do this, though, we get 7 metal tools. Which I like because metal tools are, 1, something I need, and 2, better than scrap tools. They're pretty nice. So we want to do this. We only have 22 hours to pull this one off, though, so I may want to temporarily bring some people over to scrap jobs just so we can get that scrap up and a-running. Notice how fast we started running out of clothing, by the way. This is why you need to have tailors operating at pretty much all times. It's honestly a little unfortunate how fast we go through our radiation protection. Who knew that, that scarves aren't especially durable against radiation. We still need a refiner to continue getting us things like plastic, like cloth, like metal. We're doing okay-ish on food right now. I'm going to pull somebody off of hunting jobs and have someone just kind of floating around for settler jobs to gather up wood, because I do still need more of that if we want to get the shelter up and running. Looks to me like the deer are on the move, and I should probably go ahead and move the work area to kind of capture these guys as they travel. This is, again, where you have to do a little bit of micromanagement with the hunting lodge, and it can get a little irritating at times, but there you go. We do have a couple more adults that came of age, so let's go ahead and get ourselves one more salvager. Doing okay still on food and water. I want to have 2 people now working probably on gathering up random resources from this work job right here. We may want to assign more people to the forester so we can start chopping things down. I mean, we're definitely planting this area up pretty well. How long do we have on that goal? Only 14 hours left. Let's go ahead and get some more salvagers going. A few more salvagers going, honestly. I want as much of this as I can. I really would like to have these tools. Yep, more salvagers. Keep going, guys. Don't stop. Get me all the salvage. I mean, we got 5 people working on it. Do you think we can get that in the next 12 hours? It's feeling kind of dubious to me. All right, tell you what. We're going to dismantle this task. We're going to go to a scrap task, and we're going to do something really close by. How much do we have left on the plane? This is only 300, but for some reason it's not showing as an option. Oh, that's interesting. I kind of figured we'd be able to gather the scrap directly from there. Huh. Apparently you can only gather from small piles, not from the plane. So I guess that's where the salvager comes into play. Alright, tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and place down a task here to gather up the simple scrap piles, and I'm going to move the salvager to a larger resource facility with the airplane. It's closer, and that way we can gather up the scrap a little bit faster. At least, such is the idea. We'll see if that ends up working the way I intend it to. We have 12 metal, which means that's enough for the workshop, so we can stop with that with the recycler for now and swap back over to cloth, since I seem to be running out a little bit. Doing just fine on food. The fields and stuff seem to be working pretty well. Plantation still has a ways to go as far as growing. It appears that it's doing okay, actually. 243 out of the limit here. It's supposed to only take 1 season to grow back up. Maybe we've actually already hit maturity with this plantation, and now we have an easy, massive source of food. Which is awesome. That is exactly what I want, and if that is the case, maybe we should set up another plantation. Can't place it where they intend to place a road, though. Maybe we can go for something right over here. I don't want to put too many fields and stuff next to my production areas, because I might need this for future resources. What if we place a simple plantation, let's say right over here? It's kind of an awkward space, in that with the roads being done the way it is, I can't place too many buildings. Also, I imagine this creates a pretty nice neighborhood for everybody else. So there we go. So right now we're planting peaches. Let's go ahead and go to the most effective crop, and that is pecans. Takes 5.5 seasons to grow, but generates 525 food per season once that has happened, and that's a pretty hefty amount of food. I think plantations are kind of a lifesaver here. We do want to... I don't quite have enough lumber still. I want to place down the shelter, dang it. We can place it, we just can't finish the darn thing. We need a lot more cloth, too. We've used up quite a bit of that. This is where the refinery becomes important, because the recycler only has 1 person working, which means it's very slow and inefficient. That is a slight problem. We only have a few hours left. We almost have enough scrap. Come on, guys, just finish it. It doesn't take the scrap away from you. You just get the extra stuff for finishing the goal. And we did. There we go. So we get a little bit of extra lumber, and we get some metal tools. Much needed. Thank you. Now I can pull some people off of scrap. Okay. We'll still leave a couple there. Let's see. Doing okay on most everything else. What I may need then is a technician. So we have somebody working over here on the workshop. Now we can produce scrap tools, which uses logs and scrap to create a couple of basic tools. They're not particularly good. Metal tools obviously are better. They last longer, but they require metal on top of the other resources. So higher durability, though, is kind of nice. I think I might be willing to invest in that because more durability just means less time ultimately spent on tools, which makes it easier for me to pull resources, namely labor, away from making tools and go to something else. Now, what is going on here? Missing wood. Yeah, so we just need more people working on wood right now. I'm going to go ahead and create another task, and this one is specifically to gather wood right over, let's say, here. Just go ahead and start clearing this area out a little bit. And now that we have enough scrap, I'm actually kind of okay with getting rid of this task, so our free people will work on wood instead. I'll move the scrapyard back over here just so we can continue clearing this area out in preparation for the Forester's Lodge. Still have some deer apparently in range, which is good. I'm going to move it a little bit just so we can get these guys in range for the time being. But food-wise, we're doing A-okay. So this is good. I feel fairly confident about our current start. Still need to get this going ASAP. Let's see. We have enough cloth dedicated for this. We still just don't have quite enough lumber. Yeah, so we're working on that just fine. 4 people currently available. Plenty of adults. We're hovering pretty nicely around 9 children. I feel good about that. Soon-ish, we want to get some more housing as people start reaching their child limit. It looks like we can have 1 or 2 more there. 2 here. These guys apparently are not having much. Old adults. I think their children may have just moved out. Oh, the capacity is 5. So maybe that means you can have up to 3 children. We just don't have any examples of that at this point. I think most of these guys, though, are just old couples where their children have already moved out and they've probably just stopped having children. If that's the case, then I'm actually going to start running out of kids pretty soon. So we don't obviously want to have only exclusively older folks no longer producing children. We do need to continue building out our population. So now is a good time to build out 2 more houses, but I'm just being very careful with this. Again, this is something very similar to what you do with Banished. This is an easy mistake a lot of people would do, where they would just build houses all over the dang place and go for as much population as possible because, you know, more is better. But if you don't have the infrastructure to support, then it's just going to create a death spiral situation. And that's exactly what I am trying, maybe failing, but trying to avoid. Let's go ahead and continue with the main roads over here. I'll go ahead and add some streets along here. Add in a quick avenue this way. And another quick little street right here. Again, just trying to encourage as much mobility as seems reasonable. Looks to me like the pecans are almost fully planted. It looks like they're already growing up their crop yield. Which is odd, because we can't harvest them already, can we? I assumed that you would get no food for 5 seasons, then once they hit maturity, then you start getting something. But it almost looks like you get food regardless. That's interesting. Okay. I mean, maybe that's fine. Maybe I'm just not understanding how that exactly works. I may want to place down another depository over here, just so we have some storage facilities close to all of our food, and that way people are more efficient at gathering food from the gatherers, from the hunters, from the fishing hut, and don't have to walk quite as far. Placing your storage in the right areas is a very important aspect of survival games like Banished, and I'm going to have to assume that translates over here as well. We need a couple more builders, because right now we're going a little slow on that for my tastes. Wouldn't mind getting some more water carriers, but we did just get a new goal. What is this? Gather resources, more scrap. Gosh, okay, well, you know what? Fine, more salvagers. Let's just go for as much scrap as we can over here. And try to get this back up here. This limit is actually a lot lower, so you'd think that this is going to be easier for us to accomplish, not harder. So we'll see. If we can get this, hey, that's another 7 metal tools that I don't have to worry about producing, and that's significant for me. Notice our number of children is continuing to dwindle, hence why getting these houses and stuff is so darn important. We do have a shelter, and we can see a lot of young adults have been placed over here. So this deals with my immediate shelter needs, but does not result in explosive growth. That said, I do think we need a little bit more than I've currently got, since we're down only 6 kids. So let's try placing down 1 more house, but I'm going to stop there, at least until I have a better sense of where things are going. Seem reasonable enough? I think it is. Probably. What are we doing over here? Gathering wood. It looks like that is already done. Let's continue trying to gather up some wood, let's say, over in these areas and continue to clear the spot out. A lot being planted over here so far. I think we can now swap over to cutting and planting. And then I'm going to add another person into our forester job so we have another better source of wood coming in. Okay, everything seems to be doing just fine over here. Still no sign of a drought right now, which is actually awesome. What I may need is more refining. And what would it take for me to get myself a refinery? We would need a lot more metal and a lot more wood, but otherwise totally doable. Okay, well, we're kind of spending a lot of our effort just getting cloth. What I may want to do, then, is place down a second recycler, at least temporarily. Once I get a refinery, I think I might just demolish both of these buildings. But let's go ahead and get ourselves a second refiner so we can start producing some metal on top of the cloth, using all the extra amounts of scrap we are currently producing. And hopefully that ends up working well for me. Alright, so yeah, we're just dwindling on some of the basic resources from scrap and wood. We have plenty of food going in, just not a lot of building materials. That is unfortunate for me, isn't it? Okay, some children are starting to be born, so I know we're starting to catch back up there. We're starting to run low on water. I'm watching this number dwindle, and that means that we are starting to consume more than we produce. So because we don't have statistics to back that up, I'm just going to go ahead and use some good old-fashioned intuition and say that we probably could use some more water carriers. Keep a good eye on these numbers. If you start running out pretty quickly, it means you're in big freaking trouble. I'm going to reduce the number of farmers just so we have one per field for now. I think that should be sufficient unless we really want to speed up our growing season. We need an extra recycler, and you're going to be producing some metal. So we will be able to work toward that refinery. Once we have a refinery, I think we'll be doing a lot better. I'd like to place a refinery down over here, if at all possible. This seems like a reasonable place for it. Have a couple of settlers here. Probably don't need this many builders anymore. I think we're doing okay. What's going on in the scrapyard? It looks like we've actually finished off this work area, so that's good. Could continue up over here, but I think we're fine for now. Let's just go ahead and gather up scrap over here. And we've only got 4 hours left on gathering up scrap. So I'm going to go ahead and assign everybody else to just gather scrap and try to get that last little bit up to 446. And I think for the moment, let's actually turn off our recycling workforce so we stop using up the scrap and just start building it up. Just to complete the quest, and then we'll turn people back onto it. I'm not sure we're going to make it. We're getting close. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. It's a little bit close. I'm going to feel real bad if we don't get it. I don't think we're going to get it. Oh, no, we got it. All right, good. Yes, being a pessimist has never worked out poorly for me. All right, we don't need quite this many salvagers anymore. We got plenty of scrap. Let's go ahead and get ourselves an extra forester. And I think we'll just leave a couple of scrappers for now. Just a couple of other regular settlers to just go and gather random materials. Seems like that's working out just fine. Do we want to get more wood from somewhere else? Yes. But where? What's in this circle? This is all within this circle, so I don't really want to cut that down. Let's move this task. Come on. Where are you? Hello? Click on task. Oh, it's already gone. I apparently moved it, but didn't select an area, and it gets dismantled. Didn't know that. All right. Let's go back to tasks and gather up probably all resources in this general vicinity. Clear some of this place out, if we can. Again, doing fine on food, not doing so good on water. So I'm actually going to pull off on one of the fishers and go to water carriers again and just kind of keep trying to speed some of this up. Make sure that we've got plenty to go around. Not enough cloth, not enough metal. Oh, boy. What we can do is go ahead and just place down the refinery. And if we do that, that should be fine, right? Yes, I need to move this somewhere else because you can't place on top of a task. But as we produce those resources, we should automatically dedicate some of it to the refinery. This just seems like a really important building to me. You can assign more than one person per building, so you can get a lot of people working on refining. Up to, like, 20? No, 30. 30 people per refinery. That's plenty. One refinery should get you going for most of the game. Starting to still run a little bit lower on children, by the way. So we need to keep this going, I guess, with some more housing. Let's just keep building out the neighborhood like so. I would like to get myself a school. Schools would be good just for educating the children's and making them more productive members of society. I want to place it over here. Sure, let's place it relatively close to the housing areas. Children, of course, not doing a whole lot at the moment. I don't know if they actually participate in any sort of gathering activities, but I don't think they do. Now, we will have to assign an adult as a full-time teacher as a result, which takes up a very valuable job, but if it means all of our future adults are more effective, well, I think that's probably worthwhile. Oh, looks like we actually had somebody die. Adults went down. So that means we want to get a cemetery going, too. I'm going to place it probably over here by the school. Nah, I don't want to do that. That sounds fun and all, but it's probably not a good idea. Right over here could be nice, though. It's a good, peaceful spot, right? Yeah, let's place down a cemetery over here. Again, this takes a lot of resources. Unhappy settlers. Our average happiness has gone down a little bit too much. This is where placing down some schools and stuff could be good. Although remember that lower confidence, apparently, results down in lower population growth. So maybe this is fine, and we can offset it somewhat just by building lots more houses so we can have plenty more population. I don't know. Looks like we've already finished all the scrap of this area. Okay, so let's expand out over here. We have plenty of scrap at the moment, but I want to make sure that we are constantly getting a bit more. Probably don't need this much, though. We will need a mortician and a teacher. I do want probably a couple of builders just to kind of speed some of this along. And then I'll go ahead and reassign people once we actually have things being built, like the school. School is now done. Pull off one of the builders, assign a teacher. And there we go. Now, we have visitors going into school. That should be the children. The number fluctuates, so I guess children don't always stay in school, but it gives them something else to do, and that seems reasonable enough to me. And yeah, the number of adults is dropping down, so we definitely are reaching the point where we're starting to decline in population due to age. Increase your population up to 53. This is probably not something I'm going to worry about too much. We have a long time to do it, and I would like to have 53 population, but I'm not going to work hard for this if it results in me messing up my infrastructure and killing the colony. You know? It's like chess. It's not worth going to kill the queen, but then subjecting yourself to checkmate as a result. Alright, so the refinery is done. What I'm going to do is go ahead and get rid of both of these recyclers now, because I don't think we need them. People will automatically go and work at the refinery instead, and as a result, scrap turns into all of these materials simultaneously and a little bit faster. This may mean that we are consuming a lot more scrap a lot faster. That could be the case. I don't know for sure. And again, until we get some statistics that specifically show me, you know, how much we get per day or whatever it is, it's a little bit hard for me to judge whether we have enough scrap coming in order to justify this. But with only 2 people working at the refinery, I think that's fine. And in the meantime, now we're covering all of our bases, and I think that's probably okay. Let's pull off on the builder and assign somebody to be our mortician. So we now have somebody working at the cemetery. This should mean that people are able to come over here and grieve for any deaths, any loved ones who are gone. So I'm hoping this is going to boost the confidence back up to a reasonable number. Right now, people are fairly unhappy, but I think this directly meets most of their needs without too much trouble. Still a little bit low on that water. We may want some other methods of gathering water, and I think one easy way to do that is just go ahead and grab the rain collector. Now, again, this is a slight risk in the sense that water can be contaminated by radiation, so we might be subjecting people to a bit of a risk there. But I'm going to go ahead and take that risk for the time being, and eventually I will work toward getting myself a water tower. This apparently is not actually a good place because I can't quite build the roads the way I wanted to. This, however, should be fine. A little bit awkward in terms of leaving some extra space, and I don't like being inefficient with my spacing, but oh well, I think we'll just make do with that. We need to place down some roads here. Now, I don't like that you have to place 2 roads at a time. Like, this messes up some stuff. Case in point, like, I can't do just this corner now. So we'll get rid of some of this. But again, this is where, like, the UI could use a little bit of an improvement. And remember, this is very much an early access game. So I imagine some things are going to be changing in the future. Let's see. I could pull off a little bit on scrapping and get some more refiners just because I don't have quite enough materials at this point. The scrapyard actually apparently has already finished all of that. All right. Let's move on to a very large source over here of 261 scrap. Seems fine. But of course, scrap is going to be gradually getting depleted from all of our nearby areas, meaning it's going to be harder and harder for us to get reasonable amounts of scrap because people are going to have very long travel times. Slight issue there. Slight issue. But otherwise, I feel like we're starting to hit a pretty good spot here. We've got enough going around, plenty of tools. We've got enough materials that we're able to survive. We've got enough food. As long as we can keep our water production up, I think we'll be okay. Now, it does look like we have something like a drought coming down in a few seasons, so I want to make sure we have plenty in our stockpile. This might be a good opportunity to build up another cistern. Let's say right over here. Or maybe over here. Can I fit it? I can, actually. Perfect. So let's place ourselves another cistern. Just so we have some water storage until I get myself a water tower, unless we want to go for that right away. Now, that takes charcoal, which at the moment I'm not producing. Let's go for the short-term solution of a cistern, and in the future I will be building up the water tower. So we'll do that, and maybe we place down another boardwalk nearby, like so, just to continue gathering up some water over here. This may end up being overkill, but if that's the case, no big deal, because people will automatically stop working on getting more water once we hit our capacity. And we'll do something like this. Sure, seems good enough to me. Let's also build out the road a little bit. Did place this right up to the farm, so we don't actually have a little road here, but I think people can technically cut across the fields, right? I think that might be the case. I don't really know for sure. What are we lacking? It looks like we are lacking plastic. Yep. And you are lacking metal. Yep. So this is where we need the refinery to be working a little bit faster than it currently is. I just don't have the population to really justify some of that. Not yet. May want to get another house. We'll do that like so. How's the shelter looking? There are plenty more adults to go around. I have 10 young adults, or older adults, who are not currently producing any children for me, so we have plenty more capacity to continue increasing our housing. And at the moment, with our food and water being what it is, especially now that we're increasing our water, I think we're okay on this. So let's go ahead and do this. As long as we can produce enough clothing and tools, we should be fine. Let's go ahead and expand out the roads a little bit more like so. There we go. This is looking pretty nice. Nice and neat, you know? I mean, I think that aesthetically, this game looks pretty good. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But otherwise, yeah, I think we're hitting our stride here. So this is looking pretty darn solid. As long as we keep this going, I think we will be in a good place. I think we're going to go ahead and switch these guys over to planting, by the way, for a little bit, since we seem to have cut down a few more trees than I'm comfortable with. And I still want our hunting and our gathering to still be effective. I think the next thing to go for is some medicines and some charcoal. Get both of those going, and technically we will be producing all resources, and that's going to open me up for a lot more opportunity. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell. And I, as always, will see you guys next time.